When I was a little kid, I thought people in their 30s had it all together. Are there kids out there who think I got it together? No.
That's dumb. That's dumb. 30 is not the new 20. No, baby. 30 is 30. And I love it. Every minute of it. I'm not afraid. Because I also can't wait to pour back into generations that will come after me. Stop trying to stay 17 and go find a 17-year-old that actually needs your perspective that's struggling. I'm not sitting around with a 17-year-old or a 25-year-old talking about the same struggles. I'm not trying to do that. I want to be able to help her. Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here. And you know what's funny? Because I know people say that often, but I really mean that. I'm so happy that you guys join me each time because low-key, I love this. And I love rambling, and all my life, I thought that I talked way too much and I cared way too much about deep things or social issues. But now that I've made somewhat of a career out of it, not even just with YouTube, but actually with like my actual professional career, I low-key love this. And I was all insecure about it at some point, but now it's like, no, God endowed you with wisdom on purpose and intentionally, right? So that you can be a voice of reason. And one of my devotionals the other day talked about how the Lord assigned thinkers on the planet for a reason. Everybody doesn't love deep thinking because sometimes people are called to different things, and it's totally okay. And I think I used to be offended by that and would think that there was something wrong with people if they didn't just get lost in thought for so long the ways that I did, and I would feel so isolated. And that was really what it came to be. It wasn't that people were wrong, but rather I was called to a different thing, and so I would feel isolated oftentimes. I do think we need to create more critical thinkers, which is i.e. why I have this YouTube channel, and I'm putting my thoughts into the world and social commentary into the world so that people can join me in my love for thinking. But with that being said, I do recognize that this is a specific gift that God has gifted me with, and I no longer take it for granted. I'm no longer insecure about it in some ways. I think I still struggle with it sometimes because I'm always in social settings and I'm like, girl, just be. Like, people are just kind of kicking it and not really wanting to talk about anything. And I'm just like, so let's think about all the ramifications and implications of Nicki Minaj's XYZ, right? Like, I'm just always so engulfed in things like to the nth degree in ways that other people aren't. But anyway, doesn't matter, whatever. I'm me. I'm going to always be me. Anyway, so with that being said, let's hop into this video. So today we are going to be talking about the youthification of adults and our obsession with youth and being young and childlike, almost teenage-like at best. But honestly, I'm 30. And so when I see teenagers, I think of a child, but because they are children, right? I'm not trying to bait you in with rage about every little thing because I don't want to be that person. But I really do think our obsession with not having it together and like, I'm just a little flowy, free teenage 30-year-old who just haven't gotten it all together yet. And so like, just see me as just a flirty and 30 something. And okay, I'm gonna be serious. I'm sorry. But we are so obsessed with that stuff. I see so many videos circulating the internet about me looking at Zillow today with 23 cents in my banking account.
This place sucks. Let me just see what's on Zillow.
Greetings, peasant.
Only 4 bathrooms? Lame.
Lame? You have $4 to your name.
I want something different, something scenic. Tahiti.
Let's check Tahiti. Let's check Tampa.
Damn, this is only 4 mil in Kansas? What is it, the whole city? What about the hills?
That's a funny way to spell Glendale.
Oh, what about Nashville?
Oof, this is almost as bad as your Austin, Texas face.
You know, and it's funny, and don't get me wrong, because I've done that, right? We all scroll through houses knowing like, girl, you can't afford that. Why are you looking at that, right? I get it. I really do get it because it's relatable. And a part of this kind of content that we're seeing an influx of, this I'm struggling, this struggle bus content that we love perpetuating, part of that really is just like relatability. And we've created an era that is centered around relatability. That's why celebrities are falling more and more as we speak, because people want to feel like you're accessible at all times. And that's the landscape that social media has produced for us. So it's fine. I get that that's part of this. But beyond just relatability, we are so obsessed with looking like, acting like, presenting like children and young people and the attention that that gives. So I'm going to tell you guys a story because I think this story is the crux of why I wanted to do this video, because I found myself in the middle of this exact thing that I'm so frustrated by. I was at school the other day. If many of you don't know, I'm working on my Master of Divinity, and so I'm in seminary. And anyway, we were talking about growing up and the implications of growing up. Within the group, there's like this 60-year-old woman, and then there's also like this 23-year-old girl, and then there's me, 30 years old, and then I think it's another woman that's maybe like, I want to say like 39 or 40 or something like that. So it was a wide range of age groups. Like the 23-year-old girl was just like, yeah, every day I'm just trying so hard to get it together, and oh my God, I'm stressing, and I feel icky and all these things, right? Understandable. 23, yeah, you will feel all of those things. Stressed, frustrated, icky, uncertain. It's just so much uncertainty that comes with that age because you're thrust into this realm that you just have not entered into. You just haven't been in. You don't know anything about adulthood, relatively speaking. I know everybody's situations are different. Okay, nevertheless, in that same time, the 60-year-old woman and the about 40-year-old woman was giving the girl advice, and they're just like, yeah, girl, don't worry about it. You good. You know, life is going to keep happening, and you just take your time and you make decisions through you, follow your heart, you know, all the baseline advice you give young people as they're navigating adulthood. And so then when it came to me, immediately in that moment, I felt such a compelling to say, yeah, girl, and you'll never have it together because I'm 30 and I'm still figuring it all out. And to be honest, that is true. So I did say it. I said, I felt the compelling. I did say it. And that is true, right? And so in that immediate moment, I went straight to the baseline advice that people always give. You'll never have it all figured out. I'm still doing that myself. How many times have we heard that? You'll never have it figured out, so just keep trying. I'm still figuring it out myself, and that's okay. We hear that so often. And the thing is, it's not inherently a bad answer, and it's definitely not a wrong answer, because what the heck does having it all figured out even mean? But I was uncomfortable with my answer once I left. And then I'm like, Raven, there go that deep thinking stuff. Girl, let it go. Like, nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about your answer but you. But nonetheless, I kept thinking, because I'm like, why am I so uncomfortable? And then it struck me. We've gotten so accustomed with this idea that you'll never have it all together that we've made that somewhat of a mantra and a personality trait. We are tethered to this idea so deeply that we won't have it together that we haven't really been able to really flesh out what that even means. And so we have just begun to adopt this childlike obsession with youthification mentality towards our lives and towards how we approach life and success and accomplishments. And in my previous video, I talked a lot about how social media is infantilizing adults, and I definitely think that that's part of it. But a byproduct of that has been, we've made the youthification of adults a mantra and a personality trait. We love existing in the gray because we've been ushered into this nihilist generation and nihilist way of thinking. And a lot of this nihilism, and I'll have to do a separate video on this, but a lot of this nihilism comes from the fact that we are so privileged, guys, and we just have to be honest about that. When I say we, I'm not just talking about white people. I'm not just talking about wealthy people even. I'm talking about human beings as a whole in comparison to generations past. Our technological advancements have put us in such a uniquely privileged position. We have access to so much. We know so much. We are so globalized and well-traveled and well-experienced in all of these things. Generally speaking, I'm talking about relative to previous generations, because I know this varies on a person-to-person basis or a family-to-family basis. But generally speaking, relative to previous generations, we are so much more well-thought, so much more well-evolved and well-rounded with regard to our world experience. And what that has yielded is a generation that is immensely privileged. And what has come with that privilege is an inability to reckon with the beauties of our lives and the beauties in the simplicity of life as well. Let me break down what I mean a bit more with a little bit of science. I'm reading this book right now called The Comfort Crisis. And what the comfort crisis is essentially about is just how we've gotten too comfortable as a society, right? And how there is nothing that comes to us with difficulty We are all just kind of in this sedentary state. Our previous generations would have to like fight through the cold and whatnot to get to their destinations. But when we automated with cars, then our lives became easier. And then when we automated with computers, our lives became even easier. And then when we computerized our phones and put our phones in our pockets, but they're literally $1,000 computers in our pockets, then our lives became even easier after that. As time has progressed, which this is a good thing, but as time has progressed, our lives have gotten relatively easier. And so what has happened is we became more and more sedentary. Sedentary meaning we just sit still, we don't do much, we don't like to be uncomfortable. And the second we feel discomfort, we are seeking and going vigorously after a space and state of comfort once more, because we just do not like to be uncomfortable. Okay, that is a definite positive thing. I talk a lot about that in my book. Shameless plug, it's not political. That's a positive thing. Societies are supposed to progress, and if they don't, then that's a problem. But generally speaking, historically speaking, societies only progress. But in the same way that it's had positive impacts, there's also been some negative impacts on us as well. Because humans are designed to move and to be functional and agile. We're designed to move our bodies, and we're designed to be able to fight through difficulty and resiliently come back from them, right? We're designed to do that. However, our set of circumstances right now, because of the technological advancements we've made, have not yielded us that opportunity. Okay, so what's the bad thing in that? Well, one of the things that he talks about in the book, actually, I'll read it for you. So there was a psychologist at Harvard that he noted in the book that did this study on TSA agents, and he was essentially looking to see if people get more satisfied with information as they get more information, or as they get more things, or if they become less satisfied. His hypothesis was essentially that actually no, people don't become more satisfied, they just search for more problems, because we're designed to be resilient and fight through problems and make solutions to problems. So long story short, in the study, he presented TSA agents with pictures and images of people that looked like they were more inclined to crime. And obviously there are some prejudices and biases in there, but I'm not necessarily debating that right now. Nevertheless, he showed images of things that all humans just have within us, which is certain biases that like, oh, if you look cross in a certain way, or if you look more menacingly in a certain way, this person looks like they're more inclined to do crime, versus some people that have more soft features, low-key Eurocentric features, but that's another conversation for another day. But anyway, the pictures got less and less menacingly as time progressed. That's the essential point of that I'm making. So the first picture was like super cross, super scary looking, cool. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, absolutely, criminals for sure. But as time progressed, the pictures got more and more soft, less and less sinister looking. But the TSA agents were still declaring the pictures as menacing and criminals, and no, they're suspect. We need to look at them too. And then anyway, at the end of the study, he found that they looked at everybody the same, because their bias was centered around searching for criminogenic behavior and criminality in everyone and everything. And he was essentially making the point that that's why TSA agents treat us so bad, but because they see criminality in everything and everybody. Okay, so what's the point of this study, and why was it placed in a book called The Comfort Crisis, right? Well, he mentioned here, and this was such a great takeaway, and this is actually what I want to delve into a bit more. He talked about prevalence-induced concept change, which just essentially means that as we experience fewer and fewer problems, we don't become more satisfied. We just lower our threshold for what we consider a problem. And then he goes on to say, we end up with the same number of troubles, except your new problems are progressively more hollow. Y'all, that's what's happened to us. That is smack dab what has happened to us. This was my favorite part. He goes on to say, new comforts have moved the goalposts further and further away from what we consider an acceptable level of discomfort. All this happens unconsciously. So the reason why I am associating this with the youthification of adults in our generation is because so many of our problems have become minimal in comparison to previous generations. But because humans' tendency, the guy at Harvard literally proved that it's human nature to only see a problem, because we're seeking out ways to provide solutions and be resilient and implement that resiliency that so naturally exists within us as humans. So difficult for us to just pull out of ourselves gratitude for the things that we do have and an ability to go after things and to create solutions to our problems. It's just much easier and much more comfortable to see our problems and then consistently complain about them and create what's happened, I think, is create an identity around the problems that we do have as young people, right? And when I say young people, I'm actually talking about like 30-somethings at this point. There's this obsession with saying that we don't have it all together because we've said it for so long that we've made it our personality. Going back to the story that I told about being at school with my classmates, when I said it, the reason why it bothered me so much is because I was like, but Ray, that's not true though. Like, yeah, of course I don't have it all together, but I've got a lot of it together. My 20s actually was fruitful. This is my second master's degree. What are you even talking about? You don't have it all together. No, if anything, you have a great foundation and now you're continuing to put it together, right? Now you continue to build on what you've put together. But I think I was so immersed in that moment and saying what I've just always said for so long that everybody says. Heck, I even heard Michelle Obama say it a while ago. And God knows I'm not criticizing her for saying it, but we need to move away from you won't always have it together. Embrace the parts that you have together and keep putting stuff on top of it, right? Because this stuff is demeaning to the person that you've become and the stuff that you've done. And if you do look at your life and you realize, wait, I haven't done much and I'm not acquiring the things that I need to, then it's time to take a hard look. But that's not the time to point outward and say, oh, well, the baby boomers generation, they didn't transfer enough wealth to us. And we've done such a mass transfer of wealth to that generation. And they just got such a head start that we didn't get access to. That's not the time for that. Yes, is it true? Absolutely. Absolutely. The baby boomers did have a bit more luck and and the Xers even had a bit more luck with regard to the financial setup of the country at the time. However, okay, so that just means to me, and maybe I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. To me, that just means, okay, so we probably should change the barometer of what success is, right? Not become obsessed and stuck in the idealism of youth and joke and play all day long about how childlike we are and how close to children that we are, because that's not doing us any favors, right? Okay, so I can speak to that. My dad, when I was a kid, he would always brag about how he had, I want to say like 3 or 4 houses, because he was like a serial real estate agent. He had like 3 or 4 houses purchased by the time he was like 29 or something, like bought and sold and whatnot, flipped and all of that stuff. Cool. Okay. I mean, and that's great. Is that as tenable as it is now than it was back then? Probably not. It's not impossible because I know young entrepreneurs right now that are kind of getting it. But yeah, it's a little bit less tenable present day than it was in his generation. And I am frustrated by that, I guess. Yeah, for sure. But also, I worked hard and became a therapist and make a really great salary. It's not the absolute best, but I do all right, right? And I'm 29. Oh, God, I'm 30 now. And that's cool too. Like the barometers change and things have shifted. Globalization has made things more expensive. Yes, and corrupt politician and politics has increased our prices for things as well. But also some of it is just, guys, is globalization, right? And things go up with generations. Prices and wages have remained stagnant. I'm not going to be dismissive of that. And I'm not being dismissive of that at all, actually. I want you guys to hear that clearly. However, what I am saying is we can't make the nihilism and the frustration about these circumstances our personalities. We can't do that either because that just doesn't serve us. So now we have to start thinking about, okay, so what are our options? What do we want to become? Who do we want to be, right? We're not children, and that's okay because there's a beauty in adulthood. There's a beauty in aging and acquiring more and going after things. It is frustrating, the circumstances that we've been given to some extent, but it's also beautiful, the circumstances that we've been given. If you work hard and if you put enough effort into it, I know that that's such a cuss word now because we never want to make things about meritocracy and we never want to say that like, oh, if those people would just work harder and pull themselves up by their bootstraps, right? I know why that term and that concept has gotten such backlash because it's associated with such a dark time in our history. And it's been also historically dismissive of the marginalized groups of people and people who have been disenfranchised with regard to the capital and equity in our country. I know why we're frustrated with that term. However, it doesn't make it inherently false, right? Because it is relatively true. Should we be dismissive of the nuances in those people's lives that make it difficult for them to work hard and get the access to those opportunities? No, we shouldn't be dismissive to that truth. But however, it doesn't make it untrue that working hard and persevering and implementing resilience in your life yields you the necessary results that you need. We shouldn't negate how that's a truth just because the other parts are true as well. The nuances of people's difficulty exist. You understand what I'm saying? So my overall point, I guess, stop saying that you don't have it all together and start actually pursuing the things that will help you continue to build on what you have. And if you haven't started building, how about start to build? Stop looking for all the reasons that you can't because of X or Y or Z, and just actually start to invest and put your energy and thoughts in the spaces that will help you to create the life that you want. Because cosplaying as a 17-year-old is just not funny. Like, I get it. And like I said, I get the relatable content aspect of it, but it's relatable because there are factions of it that are true in our lives and our mentalities, and it's not yielding us anything. If you are in a job that you hate or in a space that isn't paying you enough money, okay, then let's go back to the drawing board. Let's get you into some career counseling, right? Let's get you connected to some people that can help you to thrive. And also, let's get you into some regular counseling as well, too, to help you shift your mindset around what is it that you need in this phase of your life, and how can you start to create spaces in your life that bring you joy and peace, while also doing sometimes the brunt work that you have to do to keep yourself alive, right? And to pay your bills. Sometimes it's okay. If you're in the beginning stages of your life, it won't be beautiful all the time, financially and otherwise, and that's cool. But also, if you put in the necessary work to yield the necessary results that you want, and build a life that you're happy about and proud of, and build a life that you can take joy in, because happiness is fleeting, so I won't actually say happy, but build a life that you can actually take joy in, and stop cosplaying as a 17-year-old. Even when you look at like Taylor Swift, I was listening to her music and I was just like, girl, why are you still singing like you're 22? Like, you 30 something. And I just don't understand why people are so afraid. Well, I do, let me not. I understand why people are so afraid of aging, because our culture and our society has not been kind to people that age, especially women. We are so youth obsessed with fastness and agility, all the things that I said in my previous video. So I do get how we came to this space, but I guess my point is just let it go, because there are also beauties in aging too. And the wisdom and the power and the potential money that you can acquire as you continue to grow and make the good choices, right, as you grow up. But see, the problem is, because we're so youth obsessed, we make poor choices. That's what the T is. We make poor choices because we're so steeped in this nihilism. Our comfort has yielded in us. And so then we're just like, oh, I'm just so mad, I'm so depressed, so I'm just gonna go keep making horrible financial decisions. I don't have a savings, but here I am buying my second ticket to Miami or whatever. That's dumb. That has nothing to do with previous generations hurting us, and it has everything to do with, no, you have made not having it together a personality style, and now you're making poor choices as a result of that, because we've bought into this idea that good time and self-adulation is the only thing that life should be about. That's problematic. And so, no, I'm not solely giving into these fake tropes about how millennials and Gen Zs are selfish and self-righteous, because I know old people say that. That's not necessarily what I'm saying, because I'm a part of that generation, right? I'm actually right on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z. I was born in '94. So I'm not necessarily saying that fully. However, I'm also not saying that there aren't some factions of us that, because of our comfort, because of our technological advancements that have made our lives relatively privileged, we don't have some self-centeredness that we struggle with. We do. Life is going to be a little struggle, y'all. It just is what it is. I spent 10 years grinding it out. I went to college. I did my thing. I worked horrible jobs in college. It was just torture. It was struggle. It was a struggle. Didn't have a car. I didn't get my first car till I was like 21. It was a struggle for a really long time. And so now I am eating off the fruit of my labor now, and I'm still struggling. It's not like I have a whole bunch of money, but I'm eating somewhat off the fruit of my labor now, and I live in a much better space, and I'm not necessarily living fully paycheck to paycheck because I've made some relatively wiser decisions, and I also just have a higher salary now. But all of that has been a product of the work that I put into my life as I was continuing to age. And so now that does give me the license to speak a little bit assuredly about growing up, and to a 23-year-old about the fact that no, you won't have it all together, but you will be a little bit more assured of yourself. You will feel a little bit more okay with who you are and the ability to speak out and speak up a bit more. And that's okay to say. We don't have to be afraid of having it together. I think we've become so tethered to this idea of, I'm just still searching for the answers, girl, and I'm just still figuring it all out. I think we like it so much how it sounds that we forgot that, like, no, but it's also okay to kind of flex yourself and say, no, I actually do have it together a little bit. And that's cool. Some of this is actually that we've spent a great deal. This is actually a product of social media too, because we've spent such a great deal pretending, but when you really flip the page on people's lives or pull back the layers, they actually don't have it together. They've been pretending and lying for social media. But I've actually been doing the work. This sounds arrogant. I don't want it to sound arrogant. And see, that's the problem. That's the reason why. That's the reason why we don't even want to say this, because we all want to be so relatable. Going back to the beginning of this video, relatability is our aesthetic now, so much so that it has us tethered to this mantra of you'll never have it all together and being forever 17. And I'm just 17 in the heart. I'm not. Respectfully, and say, call it arrogant, call it what you want, but not me, because I worked too dang on hard for all of those years to build what I have right now. And not only just financially, but even the wisdom, the perspective. No, not me. I'm grown and I love it. I love it. I'm not making I'm not flying out of town with 50. I'm not doing that 20-year-old stuff anymore. Y'all can stay there if you want to. 30 is not the new 20. No, baby. 30 is 30. And I love it. Every minute of it. I'm not afraid. Because I also can't wait to pour back into generations that are coming after me. Stop trying to stay 17 and go find a 17-year-old that actually needs your perspective, that's struggling. I'm not sitting around with a 17-year-old or a 25-year-old talking about the same struggles. I'm not trying to do that. I want to be able to help her and tell her, no, little sis, this is what you do. No, bro, this is how you get it. Let that stuff go. I'm getting in my bag now. Let me calm down. But yeah, we've gotten too obsessed with it, guys. If you got it together, it's okay to say that. And if you don't, start getting it together. What does that look like? Okay, let me close it out here. What does getting it together look like? Make different decisions than you did when you were in your early 20s or when you were a teenager or wherever you're watching this video. However old you are watching this video, make different decisions than you did the previous decade. Is that okay? And if you find yourself not doing that, don't give in to the idea that social media and the culture is trying to thrust us into, which is that, oh my God, I just don't have it together. What's wrong with me? I'm so ditzy. No. If you haven't, sit down, get a pen and a pad or a computer, whatever you write on, and take an assessment of your life, baby. And say, okay, why am I still making the same decision that I did last decade? What happened there? Let's take an assessment of what's happened and be honest and stop lying to yourself about it. And if you're messing up, hold yourself accountable. Go back to the drawing board. That's what I'm doing right now. I don't have a house right now, but I want to own a home. And as much as I can say all day long, yeah, because the baby boomers and that wealth transfer. Yeah, yes, for sure. Houses are mad expensive right now. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like when I look, I'm just like, for that, my mom stays like in this ranch style house, and across the street from her house, literally, I think when we moved in, it was probably like $98,000, and I was 5 when we moved into our house. And anyway, now the houses on her block are like $200,000. Baby, what? $200,000 for a ranch style house in semi-ghetto? So yeah, that's foul. So what am I gonna do about that? keep living in my apartment and paying all this astronomical rent to a place, $60,000 a year. That's what I've been averaging. I'm gonna keep doing that and then blame it on my grandpa's generation? Or am I just gonna make it happen for myself? Like, what is the alternative? And to be clear though, the policymakers, the political girls and guys who work in that space to kind of help curb the inflation and some of the discrepancies that have been happening in our economic system, absolutely clap it up for them. I literally left Congress. Trust me, I respect those people and I want those people to continue to fight. And I'll put my money, effort, time, and intention and investment into those spaces so that we can continue to try and fight for more equity and pay equity, and also for a leveled playing field for coming generations so that we're not burdened with all of these financial burdens that we have been saddled with: student loan, house, inability to buy a house, creating a renter's economy, all of those things. Yeah, we do want to rectify that for sure. But in the meantime, baby, I gotta go get it. It's gonna be impossible for me to go get it if I'm obsessing about all the things that have made it so difficult for me to go get it. Did that and fast. And be 30. If you 30, be 30. If you 40, be 40. It's beautiful here, baby. You have done things that many people wish they could do. We've all lost classmates at this point. High school, whatever, somebody, maybe cancer, bullet wound, and so on, right? Suicide, that's up too. We've all lost a lot of people in our lives. Embrace aging. You're a beautiful soul and you deserve to live a beautiful life. So what are you doing to create that? Obsessing and cosplaying a child won't get you there, hun. I'm sorry. I wish it did, but it doesn't. You're beautiful. You're amazing. So start embodying that and stop trying to be a kid. Okay, this is going to be too long of a video, child. I don't know how I'm going to edit this down because I needed to say everything that I said in here. So we'll figure it out. But if you rocked with me to the end, put in "I'm going to embrace adulthood" in the comments if you rocked with me this long. I appreciate you. And I know I said each week, guys, but I do love you guys deep because this is such a beautiful space. I'm so grateful to be in the era where my sort of a voice can be echoed into our stream of information, because I do have a lot to say and I would have felt so isolated and incapable of saying it in a previous time. But I'm grateful for the time and era that I live in now. It's not perfect, but it's the one that we have. So I'm going to make the best of it. And anyway, so I thank you guys for coming continuously each week and watching and listening and learning, hopefully. Let me know. Let's talk. I really want to get to know my audience. I look at the analytics, but I want to get to know you guys personally, right? So talk to me. You guys have been talking. Some of y'all have been a little nasty, but that's okay. We'll keep at it because all comments are good comments and I am a commentator, so I can handle it. But anyway, all right, guys, I'll stop rambling. I'm appreciative of you again and I'll see you soon. Later.